Victor Wembanyama recorded the third triple-double of his career the other night in a win against the Sacramento Kings. He was able to get 34 points, 14 rebounds, 11 assists, 3 blocks, and 1 steal. So that gave him a triple-double. Ridiculous performance. But what's even more insane is when you look at Victor's numbers this regular season so far. So for the regular season, he's averaging 24 points, on 48% overall shooting from the field, 35 from three, 10.2 rebounds, 3.6 assists, 1.3 steals, 3.5 blocks. He's doing it everywhere. He's dominating every category, it seems, just about. Just on both ends of the court, if you watch his games, he's having a strong impact on both ends of the court, which is great. That's what you want for a guy who's projected to be an all-time great and a potential GOAT down the line. Just he's impacting the game in the best way that you could hope for. That he's not a one-dimensional player. He's showing it. And what's even more ridiculous is that when he started off the season, he was shooting poorly. I remember there was a stretch the first, I think, 4 or 5 games of the season, he was shooting like close to like 30% overall from the field, like 28, 29%. Abysmal low shooting from three, something around 10%. Just, it was a struggle. And he was averaging like, I think, 17 or 18 points. That must have been like the first 4 or 5 games. He was just god awful. He looked terrible. And now it seems like that the reason why he started off so poorly was probably from all the wear and tear he had during the summer from playing in the Olympic Games, because he's gotten rid of all that wear and tear just these last several games. Since November 9th, that's when he really got out of his slump when it came to his offensive struggles, that his averages have been 31.1 points per game, 11 rebounds, 4.6 assists, 1 steal, 3.4 blocks, 54% overall from the field, 43 from three, 78.6 from the free throw line. So he's been just dominating. Those are like MVP-like numbers just for that stretch he's had since November 9th. It is pretty insane just seeing his offense just come together and you're seeing just like what a dominant force he is when his shot is falling. He's just unstoppable. That's what it looks like so far. And there's one guy that he really reminds me of right now. This is a guy that Victor has said in interviews before that he idolized growing up. He looked up to, which is Kevin Durant. He's playing on the offensive side of the court like a young Kevin Durant. What's interesting, if you look at his numbers compared to second-year Kevin Durant, it's very similar. Durant during his second year averaged 25.3 points per game on 47% overall shooting from the field. Victor's averaging 24 points on 48% overall from the field. Durant from three that season shot 42% from the field. Victor's behind him. He's shooting 35, but if he continues to shoot the way he's shooting from three, he could eventually up that percentage to maybe high 30s. And if he's lucky, just 40% overall from the field. That would be impressive. But it is pretty insane offensively how close his numbers are to second year Durant. Granted, he's a better rebounder than Durant was during his second year, a better passer than Durant was, a better shot blocker, just better at steals than Durant was. Well, actually, Durant was averaging 1.3 steals. Victor's averaging 1.3 right now. So he's very similar to Durant. That is on the offensive end. But defensively, that's what also makes him really special, because unlike Durant, he can take over a game defensively and win a game. I've seen him do it this year where the Spurs have gone down by double digits in some of these games, and it looked like it was insurmountable that they would be able to come back, and he was able to just choke out the opposition on the defensive end and have stretches where he could just shut down a team and they're just not able to score for several minute stretches, and the Spurs would just get back in the game that way when their offensive wasn't working, which is very important because that his offense is not always going to be there. Just like I felt one of the biggest weaknesses of Kevin Durant was whenever his shot wasn't falling, he was pretty much useless. Like his defense wasn't great enough to impact a game, and he just couldn't take over a game in any other way. So if his shot wasn't falling and he had those stretches during his time in OKC, then he pretty much was useless. Just that was the case. And granted, he went to Golden State and became a decent defender, but he's never great on that end of the court where he can impact the game. I feel to be just a true GOAT type of player, you need to be able to impact both ends of the court, so you can make an impact regardless of how well you're playing on the offensive end, because you're not always going to be hitting your shots, especially even in the playoffs. You could have tough defenses that make it difficult, but Victor is just figuring out how to do it on both ends of the court. I think that's going to definitely separate him from Kevin Durant long term. Just he has a way to just take over a game defensively that Durant never could. The other things I've noticed is that he's also making an effort to score somewhat inside the paint, just with his drives to the hoop. His finishing is getting better and better, and he's starting to post up a little bit every game, where he gets a few post ups where he scores effectively. And that's only going to get better as he gets stronger over time. Once he gets a little bit stronger, he's going to be able to score easily in the paint, and this could just make him unstoppable. But to me, the biggest jump he's made is just the three-point shooting. I wasn't a fan of him chucking all these three-point shots earlier in the season, but now they're falling. And if he can keep this up consistently, then that shows that it's not a fluke, that he's actually mastered three-point shooting. And if he's mastered three-point shooting, then he's pretty much unstoppable in the offensive end, because there's just no way to stop him. Because how can you block a pull-up three-point shot by Victor? It's just like impossible. He's just so damn tall that it's impossible to reach it. He'll always have that shot. Then there's really not much you can do. You could either give up the three-point shot to him, or you can dare him to drive to the hole, which is going to result in him getting easy layups and dunks and just finishes. So it's going to be your pick your poison, and just it's fun to watch being a Spurs fan. Scary if you're the rest of the league, because how are you going to defend this guy long term, especially when the Spurs get the right team that's capable of contending one day? Just you're just going to be at his mercy, just on both ends of the court, and there's not much very few teams are going to be able to do about this. So that's the way I look at it. Just very exciting times if you're a Spurs fan to see how Victor is developing, and hopefully he continues to make these leaps and bounds. This has been pretty exciting this year to just see him transform the Spurs into at least a decent team, where last year they were just a horrible lottery team. So this has been a lot of fun, and that's all I have to say.